Hello, and welcome to episode 67 of Expertise is Overrated, the podcast that takes the time to answer the questions you didn't know you didn't want the answers to. I'm Sean.
And I'm Vib, and neither of us has any clue what we're talking about.
But, in the manner of politicians everywhere, we won't let that stop us from talking about holding superheroes to account while looking good in front of the cameras that aren't on. I think these segues are worse than our sort of rambling silence for 3 seconds before one of us picks up the reins, if I'm being completely honest with you.
There's A, that, and B, it just creates silence after the segue, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Really?
we almost...
We're just deferring the problem.
I like this sort of convention that we've built where we talk about how bad the segues are for a little bit to get us into the episode. It works quite well.
It's just to really make listeners, especially new listeners, aware that we are rubbish at what we do.
It must make us so unapproachable to new listeners.
It's why we podcast. Hey. What's funny is that all I heard from the intro was hello, and that was very robotic, and then I thought you completely cut out or that I dropped off, and then I just heard you say, I'm Sean. I was like, oh god, okay, this is my line now.
Oh no. One of us has a really ropey internet connection at the moment, and I'm not sure which one it is.
I mean, I live in a town that's like not completely remote, so I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's you.
I'm the only person for 3 miles around using the internet, so there can't be any other demands on my bandwidth.
Yeah, but it just means that they sometimes forget to actually bring it to you.
The little hamster wheel isn't being turned.
Exactly. They're like, oh, fuck, there's a guy here. Should turn on the internet, quick.
Quick, turn it off for Milton Keynes. Give it to that guy elsewhere.
Yeah. No, I'm going to blame Discord, because I can't.
I'm going to blame Discord. Always blame Discord.
Always Discord. Yeah.
They're not going to complain. What, defamation in lawsuit from Discord? I don't think so.
I'd be too scared to sue us.
Absolutely. I mean, I like to think, if we call back to one of our much earlier episodes, let's all remember that I managed to make WotC back down over the OGL, so what's Discord got?
This is true, you did take down Hasbro.
I did. It wasn't even WotC, was it? It was full-blown Hasbro.
Hasbro, just all a Hasbro. They were like completely firm up until you wrote that article, and they were like, oh fuck, not this guy.
Oh, no.
Even though he's kind of agreeing with our standpoint.
We can't have that. It's got to be a trap. No one agrees with us.
Yeah. Oh fuck, this guy thinks it's sensible? Cancel it. Get rid of it.
That's actually what it was.
But we're not talking about Hasbro, although arguably an equal global powerhouse.
Monolith. Cultural behemoth.
Would they be bigger? I don't actually know. Hasbro's big.
Yeah, it's not Disney big.
It's not Disney big, but is it Marvel big? It probably isn't Marvel big, is it?
Not since the MCU, surely. Not
since the MCU. Yeah, we're back. MCU. It's been a hot minute, I think. Yeah,
we've not done much MCU for a while.
Mostly because I feel like our last couple of MCU episodes were all along the same vein of, is it as shit as we think it is? Yeah, it probably is.
I tried to watch Loki season 2, and I'm so tired. Like, I love Tom Hiddleston. I think he's a great Loki, but it's just so difficult to watch. I don't even know what makes it difficult. And I'm assured that the season finale is fantastic and almost like worth enduring through the rest of season 2 to get to, but I can't get there. Not yet, anyway.
Enduring? Oh no. How many episodes are you in?
2?
Okay.
I think 2 or 3. 3 maybe.
Yeah, I share your sense of sort of tiredness of the whole thing. Plus, for me, I don't know if this is actually the case. But I don't know, it feels like this is the last we'll see of Tom Hiddleston's Loki. And part of me is just a bit like, I don't know if I'm ready to say goodbye to him, because he's like the last remaining solid character.
We've still got Fat Thor, who's not fat anymore.
Yeah, but what I mean is that a villain, I guess, is more Loki's thing, and it's just, I don't know. I feel with him gone, Yeah. Yeah, I don't really know how to express it, which is great for an audible medium like this.
I can just picture you sort of waving your arms around slightly, trying to explain how you feel.
I think I more look just sad and despondent, really, at this point. It's just, I spent so much of... I spent a non-zero amount of my life invested in MCU and the actual universe that they've crafted, and now I just feel a little bit let down by the whole thing.
Have you got any desire to watch the Marvels at all?
Yes, if for no other reason than to be contrarian, because everybody hates Captain Marvel for reasons I still don't quite understand.
Everyone hates Brie Larson. It's specifically Brie Larson, and I don't get it.
Me neither, so I do want to watch that film, for sure. Partly because I also like the other two characters, Rambo and Miss Marvel. So yeah, I'll watch that. I mean, I'm not going to run to the cinema for it.
No,
but I'll watch it.
It feels very much like I'll watch it on Disney Plus.
Exactly.
Ditto Guardians 3. It's on Disney Plus now, so I should probably sit and watch it at some point. But
I've hovered over that when sort of deciding on a film, and I thought, I'm not really ready for it.
It was downloaded on my iPad for watching on the train to my work Christmas party in November, and fundamentally, I don't like Chris Pratt, is the problem.
Okay, that is a problem.
Well, I like Guardians of the Galaxy 1 Chris Pratt. That Star-Lord, that's a good character, I like him. But by the time you get to, like, Infinity War Endgame, it's the sort of classic MCU problem of they forgot what made the character good and thought that what made the character good was the jokes, and it wasn't the jokes, it was everything that was building up around the jokes. I think. And whereas Chris Pratt now in fact all the Guardians just feel like one-note joke characters. So I can't be bothered. And also I'm not invested in Dead Gamora, so there's that.
Here's a hot take, potentially hot take for you then. Did Taika Waititi...
Sizzle.
Yeah, did Taika Waititi kill the MCU?
You know what?
Because it all started around Thor Ragnarok, right? When I think he put his own excellent spin on it. And ever since then, they've tried to do what he's done and failed.
That might be genius. Because Ragnarok only works because it's such a tone shift.
It's a tone shift, and it worked for those characters in that film because also, like, they are more than...
That film is just full of larger-than-life, ridiculous characters.
Yeah, and it had to be done with Thor. Like, you have to make Thor overblown after a while, right? Because it doesn't really work any other way.
Well, that's all the way through all of the MCU up to Ragnarok. Thor has been ridiculous. That's the other side of it. Thor's ridiculous the whole way through the whole MCU. His first introduction, well, it's not quite his first introduction, but one of his very early introductions in the original Thor film is him smashing a coffee cup on the floor in a cafe and just calling for more coffee, and everyone being like, dude, don't do that. But like that, Ragnarok is the culmination of that character.
Yeah. And I think we sort of forgot that. I think that's where the MCU started to die, because we then had Infinity War and Endgame. But, there was such a natural cap to everything.
And Thor has such a fantastic arc in those two films.
Yeah.
I think you might have just cracked the MCU.
Taika Waititi, you've got lots to answer for.
Taika Waititi, while making arguably the best MCU film, killed the MCU.
Yeah, but then sadly he couldn't quite recapture his own magic for Love and Thunder.
No, because it only worked once.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Ragnarok was lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
These are all films we're not talking about today.
Well, I feel like that was such a good hot take. I think we might just call it there. right? Just release this one episode, 8 minutes long.
10 minutes.
Stroke of genius, done. I'll collect my Oscar in the morning. Oscar? Grammy? What would you get for this? A Webby?
A Webby?
A Streamy?
A Streamy? A Tony?
A Tony? I'll take a Tony Award. Actually, of all of those, I'll take a Tony Award.
Yeah, to be fair, a Tony's probably the most prestigious of all of those.
That or a BAFTA.
A BAFTA?
I'll take a BAFTA. Well, at expertise... No, that's not even right. That's not right at all. Email us at expertiseoverrated@gmail.com.
If we need to, we can get a PO box for the BAFTA to be sent to.
Yeah. But make sure to address it specifically to Vib for having the great idea.
I'd
like it to be like a podcast duo where only one of us gets the award specifically mentioned.
It's best actor or something like that, rather than to the podcast. It's specifically to you for your role as.
It's like, we will only give it to you if you swear that it's only for one of you.
I feel like I was involved in that realization.
I think you were. Like, I think there's a sort of
supporting.
Yeah, a production credit. You were the apple that fell from the tree.
Oh.
But then the apple... Well, actually, the apple does get recognition. Talking about Isaac Newton's apple here, obviously.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, it's for the listeners. We know what sort of riffraff listens to us.
That's true.
Hello, if you're new.
If you didn't know that it was Isaac Newton's apple that was being discussed, please reach out to us at Zero Expertise on Twitter and tell us where you went to school.
And what apple you were thinking of.
Yeah, also that one.
Anyway, shall we actually get to the matter at hand? I mean, MCU is it's not a million miles away. We've had worse tangents.
No, we're pretty close. Yeah, the MCU specifically. I think we're going to confuse everyone here.
No.
That's my concern, because we're going to talk about Civil War and the sort of core conflict of Civil War, the Cap versus Tony philosophical use of the Avengers.
Yes.
But I think we're not on the sides that people think we're on for this one.
It's interesting, because you mentioned that earlier when we were discussing the episode we were going to record, which of course we did weeks in advance, and we're very prepared.
Yeah. This is
yeah. So
that were happening in July.
Yeah, because you've previously on this very show have declared your love of the Captain America films, and you think that Cap is not the strongest, but like the best character in some ways, and most meaningful. Is that fair?
I struggle to articulate it. Certainly not the strongest. I'm not even sure how far I would take best, but sort of morally best.
Yeah, the goodest of the characters.
The goodest is a good way of putting it.
Which, especially in the context of what discussion we're going to have today, is weird.
Yeah, I'm going to need to do some heavy digging, because in Civil War, I think, the most ardent Team Iron Man supporter that has ever existed.
That is interesting. So I mean, you are arguably switching sides. I don't think I've ever come out in favour of Iron Man, particularly, have I?
I think, Tony Stark's biggest fanboy, but that's by the by. Your constant refrain that Tony Stark could beat Superman lives rent-free in my head.
Yeah, but in my defense, that's not just Tony Stark. I think every Marvel hero could beat Superman.
We haven't had a hot take in a while. We've had 2 in one episode.
It's not a hot take. It's just common sense.
It's quite hot. Anyway, even if you're not sort of philosophically aligned with Iron Man, I think for the purposes of this episode, the narrative works better if you're switching sides.
To an extent. No, I have previously fanboyed over Tony Stark. That is very true. He's a role model, really, isn't he?
Fine figure of a man.
But turns out he's an idiot. So let's talk about that.
There we go. So how do we want to... Where do we start?
Well, let's frame it, mostly to remind myself. Because we last talked about this in July, so I really need to refresh my memory. So obviously we're talking about the Accords, I guess. Civil War is a culmination of some sort of governing body. It's unclear what exactly. Trying to impose rules and regulations on the Avengers, and I guess quote unquote superheroes.
But I think by extension, the assumption is enhanced individuals more generally.
Yeah, although on sort of based on the films alone, it's unclear how aware anybody is of that as a greater state of being. But if you watch like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., for example, you know that there's a lot of this sort of stuff going on. So
yeah, and at the very start of Ultron, you have them talking about there being enhanced in the field. So it's obviously not like it's a working term. No one has to stop and ask Scarlett Johansson what she means when she says we have at least one enhanced in the field. So I think there's implied at least to be a sort of general, at least amongst the superhero community, understanding of what's going on there. I think. Have you lost me? Am I back?
You're back, yeah.
Cool. So
I'm going to assume that whatever you said was bad, so I'm just going to ignore it.
That's fair. So yeah, I think the Sokovia Accords are about the use of, or the deployment of the Avengers, but also rules governing the deployment or otherwise of enhanced individuals who are not members of the Avengers.
Yeah. That's actually an interesting distinction.
Should we park the second part for a moment and talk only about the first part?
Yeah, let's assume Avengers.
So
and Avengers only.
I don't understand how people can have a problem with... It's made complicated by the fact that Captain America exists. I agree. I think that's almost...
How do you mean?
Not quite a problem, but almost a problem. But the idea... Vision says it. Oversight should not be a dirty word.
Mm-hmm.
The idea that someone like Vision or Wanda can just go out and use their powers kind of however they want, the only check on them being the rest of the Avengers, is insane. Isn't it? I have no idea how this is going to sound, because you're going to have to stitch it back together. We've had some good audio problems recently.
Hang on, me? The fuck is me,
you're
Why is it always me?
I have to do last week's one. Shut up. Anyway, don't derail us. We lost Vib for a while there. I think he went to make a sandwich. So...
from my point of view, I lost you, so...
Yeah, when you got up to make a sandwich. So I'm going to try and succinctly remake the point that I was just making. Apologies to the listeners, because this is the second, or knowing me, fourth time you've heard this. Essentially, the point is that the Avengers are too powerful. Each individual Avenger is far too powerful to not be subject to some form of governmental or extra Avenger oversight. Some of them, like Wanda and Vision and Thor and Banner, are arguably just fundamentally too dangerous to be like out in public, but that's one for in 20 minutes time when I'm properly getting the jackboots on. But how can we have a problem with someone overseeing the deployment of force, which is what using the Avengers is?
It depends, I think. Depends on the scenario, right? Because What did the Sokovia Accords state specifically? Like, what oversight are they suggesting? Is it oversight for actions on Earth? Is it oversight for actions by the Avengers specifically?
It's
what's their mandate?
At the moment, the deployment and use of the Avengers is governed by the United Nations, essentially. So deployment of the Avengers necessitates approval of a subgroup of the UN. I don't know exactly what that subgroup is.
Well, it's Samuel L. Jackson. He is the subgroup.
Well, SHIELD, by that point, SHIELD has been taken down, because that's...
yes, it's very Hydra.
Winter Soldier, which is before Civil War.
But I think, well, and I guess this is partly Cap's motivation for not wanting to sign the Sokovia Accords, right? Is that by involving oversight, by involving other people, you just run the risk of those people having terrible agendas.
Well, and that is exactly, or almost exactly Cap's point. I think Cap has 2 points, but his main one is exactly that. The governments are made up of people. People have agendas. How do the Avengers get where they need to go when they need to go there?
Yeah.
If they have to go through committees.
Yeah. But even if the people have got the best intents or the best intentions in mind, yes, it's, as you say, it's a committee-based thing. So, you know, I hate a committee. I'm a member of many, and they're all bloody useless. And no, I'm not the common denominator in that.
No,
might well be.
I am the same, and I get
they slow things down.
What you're saying,
you know, we want executive action. We want quick responses. We don't want to have to make the case for why you need Thor's electric lightning powers to smash down Thanos. Right? It's just not efficient.
But what makes it okay for Cap to just go, you know what, I'm going to go and deal with that problem over there? What gives him the right?
Too easy to say divine mandate, right?
Yeah. It probably is too easy to say divine mandate.
He is also a captain.
Yes, of the US Army.
Yes.
So is he not, should he at least not be subject to the Uniform Code of Military Justice governing his actions?
No, because I think ultimately the point is that Cap is beyond reproach. He should be the king of all the committees, right? And so I think the shortcut is don't fucking bother with the committees and let Cap decide.
This is sort of the problem, is that Cap is, in the world of the MCU, just always right.
Yes. He is the paragon of virtue and all that is good.
That's, I don't really like that being the answer, but that is sort of the answer.
It's not the answer, it's an explanation for sure.
Why does Cap get to decide? Well, because Cap is the person who should be deciding.
Yeah.
But what about...
Well, let's backtrack a bit, I think. And we're back. Snapped back into reality. Ooh,
thank
gravity's
you, Tony
back.
Stark, we're back.
Thank you, Tony Stark. Well, no, thank the Hulk, mate.
No, it was the Hulk who snapped them back, wasn't it?
Yeah, Tony
snaps them out.
Everybody else out of existence.
Tony committed the biggest genocide.
Well, not
second
the
biggest. Second biggest.
Well, no, the biggest genocide, no? Because he actually wipes out a whole species.
That's true. I guess it would depend on how that... Because if Thanos just snapped half of all life without... Well, it's
random, episode. Right? Yes, we fixed the stupid in Thanos. We fixed the stupid Thanos. We fixed Thanos, yes. Anyway, if you're confused, listeners, as to what the fuck is going on right now, we had to snap ourselves out of existence. Because Discord, thank you. ruined our recording.
It absolutely shat the bed, didn't it?
What's great is that we sort of discussed how can we just seamlessly go back into it. Now we've actually gone on a couple of minutes tangent as to why this will sound weird.
I think actually it's good because we can just bring ourselves back in. So we were talking about Captain America and the problem that Captain America sort of is the answer to why are the Sokovia Accords not a good idea, because in the world of the MCU, Cap is almost axiomatically right.
Okay, so take Cap out of the equation then.
Yes, let's take Cap out of the equation, because Cap doesn't need oversight, is almost the argument.
But it is almost the argument, yeah.
Someone like Wanda probably does need oversight.
Especially when you went to Wanda, my first thought was Black Widow.
Or Black Widow.
Because she effectively has been sort of being,
She's a rogue agent.
Yeah, she's used to being handled, which I know is a...
Ooh.
Yeah, I know. But
no, but you're right. She's not an independent operative like Cap is. She's sent on missions. So someone's got to send her on missions.
Except she isn't, right? Not to sort of go all Jason Bourne or Bourne supremacy on this, but it's like, who's giving her missions? It might just be her. Right, ever since she took down the red table? No.
Room.
Red room, thank you. Confusing my John Wick and my Black Widow there.
Ever since she took down Ray Winston.
Yeah. Oh, fuck. Oh, God. Why'd you have to remind me of the fact that it was Ray Winston? Love the man, but God, that was not his finest role. Yeah, because she's effectively a sole operative at that point, right? And yes, she works ostensibly for S.H.I.E.L.D.
Think about when we see Black Widow in Avengers Assemble, she's on a mission from S.H.I.E.L.D. to get information out of a Russian general. Like,
but it's how deep is the cover though, right? Is she actually working for S.H.I.E.L.D. or is she just pretending to work for S.H.I.E.L.D.?
I think she is actually working. At that point, she's actually working for S.H.I.E.L.D., but then she turns on S.H.I.E.L.D. in Civil War.
Yeah.
Not Civil War, sorry, Winter Soldier. And then maybe she is working under her own recognizance, but she's working at least with Cap.
With Cap and also with Sam Jackson.
And with Sam Jackson, that's true.
Who ultimately is the linchpin of it. And he's arguably the biggest breaker of the Accords, even though I guess...
He's both the problem and the solution.
He is in a way, isn't he? But Black Widow, I think, is interesting because it's never made clear if she's like a superhero or not, in the strictest sense of the word, that she has like special powers.
I don't think she does. I think she's like...
It's almost scarier if she doesn't.
I think she's a bit like how Cap is in some of the comics, where like he's the pinnacle of human potential, but he's not superhuman.
Yeah.
Whereas Cap in the MCU is superhuman.
Yeah.
Not sort of Thor or Hulk levels, but he is superhuman. Whereas I think Black Widow, and to a lesser extent Hawkeye, are that sort of, this is literally as good as it is possible to be without being anything other than baseline Homo sapien.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. That's quite interesting, actually. But it makes them...
Why does Hawkeye need to sign the Accords? He's just a bloke with a bow and arrow.
Yeah, but he's a vigilante, right? Which I think ultimately is the whole case here.
But the Sokovia Accords are about controlling enhanced individuals.
Yeah, no, quite, but... Yeah, but Hawkeye therefore just has to abide by the regular law, which is you can't shoot people with a bow. I mean, right?
It's true. Maybe Hawkeye goes under the Accords because it's simpler than working out. What do we do with this guy?
I'd love that for the season 2 of Hawkeye to just be a legal procedural, which is, yeah, but what? You know, I didn't need to sign the Sokovia Accords. I'm not a superhero. And they're like, yeah, but you just flat out murdered 20 people.
Either you go under the Sokovia Accords or you're going to Supermax prison.
Exactly. Be a superhero and then, you know, get off scot-free, because that's apparently happens. We'll get onto that.
We'll do house arrest. Hawkeye's like, I'll take the Supermax because I can break out of that.
Yeah. So does therefore does the people who don't sign the Accords, does that only really work because Cap also doesn't sign the Accords?
What do you mean?
As in, can we forgive everybody for not signing because they are being led by the holiest of holy, and therefore it's probably fine?
I don't know, because
make no mistake, I think Cap controls all the ones who don't sign the Accords, right?
Does
Thor
he sign?
Notwithstanding.
He doesn't control. Well, Thor. We almost need to come on to.
Yeah, because I don't think you can apply Earth law to a non-Earth being, except when they're on Earth.
Yeah, and there's a question mark around what do you do if the Hulk doesn't sign? Who do you send to bring the Hulk in?
Well, you sent Thor, yeah.
Thor doesn't want to. Shit. Who do we send to bring the Hulk and Thor in?
You bring Cap.
Vision and Cap.
Yeah.
But Black Panther doesn't sign the Accords.
Oh, no, that's actually genuinely politically interesting.
Because he's a king.
Yeah, he's the head of state, so is that essentially them just vetoing a UN legislation saying we're not going to...
That's not how UN legislation works. You only get a veto for Security Council resolutions if you're on the Security Council.
Is Wakanda not on the Security Council?
Not at the time of the Accords.
Do we know that? Yeah, because they're still in No, they're because they...
Wakanda is in secret.
Not in Civil War.
Yes, 100% in Civil War.
No, Winter Soldier, they come out, don't they?
No, because Civil War is the hunt for Bucky.
Yes, because Bucky kills the King of Wakanda.
At the start of Civil War.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, God. Well, let's see an MCU rewatch in the near future.
I am 100% sure.
Yeah, you watched it recently. I mean, I still doubt you because that's just my nature and you're an idiot. But...
No, but the point is, Wakanda signs the Accords because King T'Chaka is their biggest proponent. Because
yes.
It's a Wakandan science outreach program in Lagos that Wanda blows up.
Yes. That's right.
So
but there's the Black Panther. But Black Panther doesn't. Oh God,
he doesn't sign the Accords because no one knows about Black Panther.
Yeah, but the King of Wakanda would, right?
Yeah.
So he's
but
a
then
hypocrite.
He dies. Well, I suspect the answer is King T'Chaka never envisages T'Challa Black Panthering outside of Wakanda. Because the Black Panther traditionally is a protector of Wakanda. He's not some sort of extrajudicial vigilante. Apart from anything else, because he's the king of Wakanda, so it's not possible for him in Wakanda to be extrajudicial. But then King T'Chaka dies, and T'Challa goes on a revenge mission as the Black Panther across Berlin?
Yeah, that's fair. But I guess the whole problem with the Accords, right, is that, yes, they sort of come about after Wanda blows something up, but the only thing the Accords changes is there being a mandate for said Avengers being in a particular place, but they still blow shit up everywhere. The Accords don't fix anything.
This is almost the Sokovia problem. Do the Accords stop Sokovia, or do they make Sokovia worse?
No, they just make it a UN-sanctioned destruction of a country. Which, I mean, does that make it better or worse? I don't know. You decide.
Yeah, I think that one's for the listeners to decide. My argument would be it doesn't make the individual incident work, but processes and institutions matter. But I'm not going to go off on a rant about the value of institutions in political theory, because no one wants that.
I would almost say that so obviously Cap being Cap is a reason we've outlined for why the Accords are bullshit. The other one I think is they fundamentally change nothing except they put the blame firmly on an institution. Now, as an institution, you can decide that is what you want,
Yep, that's the point. It gives.
But
if the blame goes, sorry, go finish.
Yeah, no, but if you do that, you usually do that with the sort of with force behind it, right? As in, you can action something if something goes wrong or things are broken. The problem is you can't, because the people who control stuff at those levels are the very people you're trying to control. Right? It doesn't work. You can't enforce the Accords, fundamentally.
No, the only people who can enforce the Accords are the people who would be bound by the Accords.
Yeah.
Or, and this I guess is your argument, well, no, that is a true statement. The only people who can enforce the Accords are the people who should be bound by the Accords. But if they refuse to accept oversight and refuse to accept control and accountability, which is what the Accords fundamentally are about, accountability, then it sort of removes the moral weight from the Avengers' actions. It's politics at this stage.
Yeah,
like
but
the Avengers can still turn up and blow up Sokovia, but then the UN gets to stand up and say these are villains. They're no better than a terrorist organization. They refused oversight. They refused to work within established power structures. They show no respect for democratic or pseudo-democratic organizations.
That's what I mean. Isn't that better? Isn't that better than saying, "Oh yes, we sanctioned them going to Sokovia. They blew it up." Soz.
No, I think
plausible deniability is ultimately what I'm saying, right?
The best is if Sokovia just doesn't happen.
No, the best is if Sokovia doesn't happen. I think the UN and the reasoning behind the Accords is that they think they can stop that. The problem is you've got superheroes to deal with supervillains, right? And supervillains don't give a shit.
Sokovia was a villain of Tony Stark's own creation. So
yeah, I guess that's the loophole they finally went for with that. But
New York,
but like say Thanos
example.
shows up, right?
Yeah,
New York, I guess. Yeah,
New York, because New York had happened at the time of the Accords.
Well, let's not forget the powers that be decided to launch a nuclear weapon into New York City.
Well, exactly.
And these are the same people who then like, oh, yeah, maybe superheroes are a bit too strong.
I don't know who the World Security Council are, but I'm going to assume they're part of the UN because it just makes everything simpler.
Yeah, or some similar body, yeah.
Yeah, like a shadow UN.
Because I think the other... this is maybe where it turns out I'm just a massive technocrat, because I am, but the reason we like having governments and parliaments and so on and so forth is A, representation, but B, these are people who kind of know what's going on, or decide policy, and then the people who do know can just act according to the policy. Whereas I think
that's
the issue
with theory.
Yeah. Whereas I think the issue with something that requires a superhero, especially an Avenger level superhero, there's no one who can threat analyze that, right? There's no risk analysis you can do if you're not Captain America, for example, I think.
That's true. But so take, for example, in Age of Ultron, not Sokovia, but the meeting with Ulysses Claw in South Africa.
Yeah.
Why
Andy
is
Serkis in the MCU? Yeah, sorry.
Why is Banner? This would be the argument, right? Why is Banner there? You don't need Banner there because Claw is just a bloke. You need Iron Man and Cap, and you can take Thor if you want, because really, who's going to stop him? But you don't need the Hulk.
No, you don't need the Hulk, but I think you need Banner, right? Because the whole reason they're out there is for like particle physics, ultimately, or material science.
It's material science. It's not gamma. Tony is a material science specialist.
Yeah, no, but at some point we started off by having Tony being one kind of scientist and Bruce Banner being another, and then by the end they're all geniuses across the board. So,
but this is the argument, right? It's not just about accountability. It's about determining what level of Avenger is needed to deal with the threat. No. I can't remember exactly why they're in.
Oh no! Come on, Discord.
South Africa.
Me now.
I think it was just so you could have Andy Serkis on screen. But if you don't have the Hulk there, then there's a lot less potential for collateral damage. I guess, is one facet.
I'm just going to agree with you and say yes. I mean, I only heard like 10% of what you said, but I'm sure it was a great point. So let's just move on. Let's prevent the next snapping and
not another one.
Power on for another 10, 20 minutes.
If we can squeeze 10 minutes out of this.
Come on, Discord. What is up with this shit, man? Sort yourself out.
It's still your end. I
refuse to accept that.
That's fair. Is there another problem with the Accords, though, which is that faced with a big enough threat, all of their force falls away?
Well, yes.
Which
but this is why, because we have to assume. Well, we don't have to assume. We have to take into account that this is fundamentally Earth politics, but in a realm and in a space where there's more than Earth, right?
Yeah.
It's all good and well enforcing that Captain America does X, Y, Z, but if Thor, an army of angry Asgardians and, literal space demons show up, like, great.
or even Nick Fury's point in Avengers Assemble, the events of Thor 1, Thor turns up in New Mexico and has a fight that levels a small town with the Destroyer.
And I think the issue with having something like Accords means you have a committee, right? And the scale of destruction that supervillains can, wield and bring to bear is just, you don't have time. You just need Tony Stark to put on his suit, and within 5 minutes, the problem is being faced.
So I think the way that the Accords would end up working in practice, if everyone signed them, is you'd have your you always get to go team, which is Tony, Cap, Hawkeye, Widow. And then you have a few others who can go depending on the nature of the problem. And then you have your Thors and your Banners and your Visions who are like, okay, we need to really roll, and your Wandas, we need to really roll out the A-team here. But you still have the problem of, while you're assessing whether or not the scale of the threat to Wakanda is sufficient to roll out all of the Avengers, Thanos' army has rolled over Wakanda.
Yeah.
Which was your best hope of survival. So, you've, I think, made the point. There are no repercussions. Cap breaks the Accords into tiny little pieces in Infinity War, and everyone's just like, yeah,
hey, welcome back.
The guy's been on the run for 10 years. I'm glad you're back.
Well, he strolls into a room. Rhodey, is threatened to be court-martialed, and then never is.
Yes, and then we see Rhodey in Secret Invasion, like, being the president's go-to man for all things superhero. Rhodey gets a promotion.
Yeah. Yeah, because he's badass. I think... Perhaps it is because I am a technocrat that I just instinctively despise the Accords, because I feel the people best placed to make the decisions that needed to be made are the very people the Accords seek to limit. So get rid of them, throw them away.
Yeah, I mean this is verging into my slightly unpopular take on the Mutant Registration Act, I think.
Oh, I really hoped we could avoid that. But yeah, go on.
Well, I think it's very, very important before we start talking about anything X-Men to say that I recognise what X-Men is actually about, and I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about Magneto as a person who can move cities with his mind.
Yes.
But just going to get that little excuse in there in 10 seconds. But how can it possibly be that anyone has a problem with the idea that we should know where Magneto is at all times? And all mutants. Like, Charles Xavier is a fucking terrifying prospect.
I think partly it's because... yeah, why is it? I mean... I think partly it's because you're creating a false sense of security in a way, right? Last episode, a couple of episodes ago, we talked about registering animagi in the Harry Potter universe, right? Which
yes,
we agreed was probably a nefarious thing on behalf of the government in terms of just tracking people. But it also sort of means that you have a record of people who can do this, and therefore you can discount animagi as a group of people that have done something, for example. I think the same with the Mutant Registration Act, right? If you're assuming that all mutants are registered and therefore the situation is safe, you just need one rogue Magneto to fuck it all up.
Perhaps, but if you roll all the way back to the original X-Men films, back when they were classics, the existence of the MRA is a huge plot point, I think, in the first one. And even Charles Xavier is against it. And I cannot understand, like, if I'm not doing a bit here. I fundamentally cannot understand how someone like Charles Xavier is against the idea of the government knowing where living superweapons are, or even knowing that these living superweapons exist.
Yeah, but perhaps that's just because he's Charles Xavier, right? Doesn't he like know stuff? It's been a while.
He's psychic. Like,
yeah, that's what I mean. So he knows that the people who want to register mutants have particular reasons for that.
Potentially.
So perhaps it's just a deeper storyline there. I'm not saying that is what it is. I'm just saying that's one potential explanation. I don't know why he's against it, other than he's just like, nuh-uh.
Something trust us to be good enough. But like,
yeah, I'm Patrick Stewart, how dare you?
I'm Patrick Stewart, how dare you? But his lifelong best friend and nemesis isn't good. And I know Charles Xavier spends most of his time trying to convince everyone that actually Eric Lencher is just a slightly misunderstood, senile old man who needs our help, rather than,
which he is,
like, the most dangerous man in creation.
Which he also is.
But yes, he's both.
Things can be two things.
Things can be two things. Can't we say to Magneto, look, yeah, we get it. You had a shit life. We're sorry. Like, we're trying to be better. That's
please don't crush all the metals on Earth.
Way to underplay Eric Lencher's childhood, but never mind. But
would have made for a really bland series of films.
Yeah, if Magneto then goes, oh yeah, no, that's cool. I'll go to therapy.
Just to see exactly a psych drama, like just Magneto in therapy. I'd actually watch that. Who am I even kidding? I'd 100% watch that. Ian McKellen in therapy
Ian
as Magneto.
McKellen's Magneto in therapy with Charles Xavier.
With exactly couples therapy, right? Ultimately,
it's just the odd couple, but also they're mutants.
Yeah, but I think this comes to the crux of the whole argument, right? And I think because we originally talked about this episode as Mutant Registration Act because you thought
doesn't go far
about
enough.
it. Yeah, well, it doesn't go far enough. But but right. The reason I wanted to start with the sort of Cap versus Tony debate is that the argument doesn't really, the system doesn't really work when you get to those power levels, right? And I think everybody will kind of accept that. Everyone knows that. So it's really only about controlling the little man. It's a terrible turn of phrase. You know what I mean?
In a world with mutants that can drink. No, I do know what you mean. So
it's controlling. It feels inherently nefarious.
I don't think it's just about controlling the little man, because Vision signs the Accords. And Vision is a almost Thor equivalent sort of power.
Yeah, but then he also bangs Wanda all the time, so he doesn't. It's not like he really sticks to their principles.
The synthetic heart wants what the synthetic heart wants.
Yeah, sure. It's Vision, the heart that's doing the thinking there.
It's the Mind Stone, and there's something very incestuous about their relationship.
That's not funny.
It's quite funny. Vision is weird. Vision is very weird.
See, I think
you're sort of right. You're sort of right that the people that we should be most scared of are the Wandas, the Magnetos, the Xaviers, the people who the only way we can get them to follow the rules is if they choose to follow the rules.
Yeah.
But that's not a reason to not make rules, I think is my point.
It is and it isn't, though, isn't it? Like, it comes down to official mandate, and if it is a UN institution, I guess that there is one. But it can equally be likened to the sort of attempt at global domination that the United States of America has been, trying for the last
cultural hegemony.
Decades. Yeah, it's like, oh, you're going to abide by our rules, or shit will hit the fan, which works unless you're China. In that case, you sort of say, we don't care that much. And you create this sort of state of détente, right? And I think there's a similar thing with the Accords and the Avengers. It's like, let's test the waters. Like, how powerful and important are these people? And I think time and again it's shown that they're much more important than the existing power structures.
Shouldn't we object to that? Shouldn't we object to a group of people, essentially self-appointed people, who've decided that they're above our laws and our customs?
Yeah, but in some ways, if you just treat this as a super evolution event, what are you going to do about it, right? Ultimately, if we somehow, both of us, jump forward 1 million years where humanity's evolved to a state of being that we can't quite comprehend, are we going to moan about it, or just say, well, yeah, fair, the status quo has changed? And this is just, that universe is set in a time where, yes, it's a select few people who are clearly miles ahead. But we're trying to establish order, but it's so difficult, right? Because how can you do it?
Social mores don't change that quickly, though. Like, I get what you're saying, but fundamentally, we're not 1 million years in the future. These people exist in our world, not in a world of their own making. And so...
No, quite.
In some ways, they should be bound by our laws and customs.
Quite, but
to the extent
they can't be.
Why not?
Because they choose not to be.
But that's why do they get to? I don't get.
They
don't
get.
They
don't get to choose. That's why they're put in prison. But ultimately, there's only so long you can keep prisoners of that magnitude locked up. It just doesn't work. Then yeah, sure, you can brand them vigilantes or even criminals. Doesn't really change the fact that they are going to save the world when push comes to shove.
I mean, we could, snip, snip.
And what are you snipping?
The superpower bits. I don't really know what I'm snipping.
Yeah, how are you doing that, huh?
Forced application. Well, in the X-Men films, forced application of the cure.
Well, yes. But it's not easy to do that to a Captain America, is it?
Sure you can. You just stick it in Sharon Carter's handbag.
Okay, I mean, yeah, no, there's ways. I'm sure there are ways that you could engineer these sort of things, but it's not going to be easy, right? You can get one or two of them, and I think the rest will be wise to it.
You've got to engineer it, but I don't know. Either you sign the Accords or you get neutered. Doesn't seem that.
Yeah, but they're like, well, I'm not going to sign the Accords, and I'm not going to get neutered because I'm going to beat everyone up who comes near me.
Well, yeah, but
I'm just going to call my mate Thor, and I'm going to live on Asgard.
Fine, go and live on Asgard. Stay away from here.
Isn't that just the solution? Let's just all live in Asgard, or chill with the Guardians on their ship.
Then Surtur can deal with them.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm very anti-superhero, just in general.
Yeah, well, we're all envious, I suppose, aren't we?
Part of it is envy. Certainly.
Let's talk about the reverse for a second. The last couple of minutes we have left now, because I think we are slowly making it. Tony Stark, right? Why do you think he does sign the Accords?
It's a good question. A simplistic answer, I think, is because he's confronted by that mother when he's at MIT, who's like, you dropped a building on my son. It's your fault. How do you sleep at night? And it's just his conscience coming home to roost. And it's a snap reaction to that. But
That's interesting. Yeah, so you've gone for seeing the good in him, whereas I think he's a fucking coward. It's exactly the same motivation, but he's just doing it because he doesn't want to have to step up and take responsibility, which I guess is ultimately the story arc of the remaining films. But
I think that is actually the reason. I think he's constantly fighting with who he is and what his place is, and go there, do that thing is it is easier. He also has like individual beef with Captain America that he never really gets over.
Further evidence that Tony Stark is a coward, and I'm going to drop a hot take on you at the very end here. He only does the snap because he's too cowardly to face the consequences of all of the shit that's happened.
He's too cowardly to live in the world he's built.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
So it would have been really awkward if he snaps and survives. It's like, oh shit. There you go.
Did you know
Tony Stark is a coward?
Did you know they shot a scene for Endgame after the snap, which was similar to the Thanos and young Gamora scene that you get in Infinity War?
That completely,
but it's Tony and grown-up Morgan.
Okay.
And I don't know what's in it. I think it's just a sort of similar to the Pepper Potts. No, you get to rest. Like, it's okay. I'll grow up knowing what you did. Like, it's fine. You had to do it. I understand that type thing.
No, I'm glad I didn't include that. That's just too much. Like, we get it. We get it.
we get he's leaving a 4-year-old daughter behind. We're not okay with that. Everyone's very sad.
Yeah, but we get that. Yeah, we get that she'll understand why.
She'll understand why, and as a teenager, she probably won't, because she'll be a teenager and their brains don't work properly.
That's not a hot take, but it's
certainly a take.
It's a spicy true take.
I like that categorization. It's not a hot take, it's a spicy take.
For all you teenagers listening, your brains are broken.
They
may never get
properly.
better. Sean is a perfect example of it never having recovered.
Look, some people's teenage brains fix themselves by the age of 25, and some people end up like me.
Yeah, they just end up like you, yeah. It is what it is. But no, so ultimately, it's weird. So you're a fan of the Accords, I take it. I am not. Surprise, surprise.
I think it's a weird flip. Because I completely agree with almost the Accords shouldn't apply to Captain America because he is axiomatically true, axiomatically right in the MCU. He doesn't make mistakes. He is never in the wrong place. That's not how Captain America works. But they should apply to Wanda. Like, Wanda's the one I'm going into bat for. Get that under control.
Yeah, but you're so close to saying we need a Mutual Registration Act. It's so hard to not get to fall down into what's the law called? I always forget what the law's called.
Godwin's law?
Yes.
Any discussion on the internet?
Yes.
The longer a discussion goes on the internet, the more likely it is that someone brings up the Nazis.
Because ultimately what the Mutant Registration Act is if your DNA is
I'm
funny in a way that we deem is funny, then we're going to write your name down and we're going to make you suffer.
I'm aware. But also...
So yes, you're right, and then put a cut in here.
I'm not saying... but,
we all know.
But Magneto can move cities with his mind.
Yeah, no, there's the debate to be had, I think, over thresholding in some ways.
Yeah, sure.
But fucking hell, that gets complicated.
If the thing that you can do is that girl in the X-Mansion who can take notes by waving her hand over a page, we probably don't need to know where she is. But like,
she could put thousands of people out of a job.
Yeah, no, you're right. Lock her up.
Yeah.
I want to know where Storm is on any given day. Like,
she's probably quite easy to find.
Yeah, follow
the satellites who can do that for you.
No, but you know what I mean. Like,
yeah, you hate Magneto. We get it. You're scared of Magneto. Which, I mean, it's not unfair.
We should stop here because I'm about to start making jokes that are just not appropriate.
No, indeed. Well, I'm surprised we made it. We do apologise if this episode sounds like an utter shambles. It's mostly Sean's fault, because...
It's not my internet. It's not my Discord that's borked.
It's also not mine. It's neither one of our faults. It's probably Elon Musk.
Yeah, let's blame Elon.
So, Elon... Thanks, mate.
When we tweet about this episode, we should @ Elon Musk and blame him for how shit the audio is. And just see what happens.
I mean, Twitter is currently, once again, on fire for something outrageous that was said, so...
Oh, really? What's happened?
Oh, gosh, you put me in the spotlight.
Do we have time?
It's bad.
Good.
Reddit is aflame with memes. Let me see if we can quickly find it. We can maybe cut down the thing. I can't find it that quickly. Yeah, it's bad. It's not.
I
love
not good. Exploded Twitter.
Oh, hang on. Here we are. What's happened? Oh God, come on, Reddit, don't let me down. Just filibuster. This is great content.
There's a subreddit out there that's like, no context, please explain what's going on, or no stupid questions or something like that. That's where you need to go. Like, no, out of the loop. That's where you need to go. And it's just a subreddit dedicated to, there's clearly something happening, but I don't know what it is. Please tell me.
Well, all I can give you is a post from Redditor MFKBNE.
Shout out to you.
Who replied to someone who's saying that they're out of the loop. Says, because of tweets containing anti-Semitism, conspiracy fantasies, and neo-Nazi propaganda, X, formerly Twitter, got criticised, and advertisers don't want to be associated with X anymore, so X loses money. The CEO of X, Elon Musk, tries to solve the problem by threatening to sue those who dare to mention the problems on X instead of fixing them. The meme there's a shitstorm.
Yes, that's very good. I have actually seen some of that. I thought there was something more specific, but no, that's so good. It was the we will be, when court opens on Monday, we will be first at the desk tweet, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was so good.
I mean, Twitter has very much exploded since being purchased. Or imploded, given how much value it's lost.
Yeah, taking a dive.
But anyway, perhaps more to come on Accord's Mutant Registration Act and Sean's rampant something. But until then, thanks so much for listening to this episode of Expertise is Overrated. No doubt we've said some things that were either objectively wrong or downright offensive. As ever, feel free to let us know, rate the podcast and leave us a comment, or drop us an email at expertiseisoverrated@gmail.com, tweet us at ZeroExpertise, check out our website expertiseisoverrated.podbean.com, or come join us on our Discord server.
If you're lucky, we might just argue with you in one of our upcoming episodes. If you're really lucky, we might call you an idiot. Come back next time for some more absolute nonsense.